Namaste everyone. In today's video, we're going to focus on Patanjali's Yoga Sutra 2.3. In this Yoga Sutra, Muni Patanjali has explained to us the 5 kleshas or the 5 pain points in our lives and how this pain arises. So let's hear about this sutra and then break it up word by word to understand its meaning further. So the sutra itself goes, Avidya, Asmita, Raga, Dvesha, Abhiniveshaha, Kleshaha. Alright, so now that we've heard the sutra, let's break it up word by word to understand it even better. So the first word over here is avidya, and usually the word avidya is translated as ignorance, but it also means worldly knowledge. The second word is asmita, which is usually referred to as the I or the ego sense. Then comes raga, which means attachment. And the next word is dvesh, which essentially refers to a strong dislike or a strong aversion towards something. And the final word is abhiniveshaha, which essentially refers to fear of death or the strong will to live. And all of these together comprise the kleshas. So now let's understand it in a little more depth so that we can understand how we need to work through these pain points. So as we understood, avidya is more about worldly knowledge and not exactly only about ignorance. But why is this a pain point? Well, it can end up being a pain point because if we focus too much on worldly knowledge, we kind of overlook or sometimes might ignore the self-knowledge or the vidya of the self. And because of that, this might end up being a pain point because everything in the external world is subject to change. Everything that falls under the domain of Prakriti is going to change, is going to evolve. And if we don't comprehend that well enough, then we will be shocked and completely swayed by all the changes in our lives. So that's why through this sutra, Muni Patanjali is trying to tell us that we have to kind of be a little careful that we also engage in some amount of spiritual study or spiritual sadhana. So even the high and low tides in life, we can handle because of the anchor and the fortitude that we have from within us. So that's a little bit about how avidya can be quite a huge klesha if we don't handle it correctly. And moreover, avidya is the bedrock or the foundation of all the other pain points because it's because of this lack of knowledge or understanding that all the other pain points also arise. If we're able to tackle avidya at its root, then we might be able to tackle the other kleshas as well. Now let's look at the next one, which is asmita or the I sense or the ego. Now, asmita can be a big pain point because we keep thinking that we are separate from everyone else and that we have a particular I sense that is dominant. And what this does is sometimes this can make us quite egoistic and sometimes also quite selfish. Now, here's the difference. It's of course important to care about yourself, to put yourself first and invest in yourself for self-growth. But that's different from completely being somebody that isn't looking out for other people or that is completely detached from the community. So it's important to kind of find that healthy balance between taking care of yourself and your needs as well as the people around you that you're supposed to look after and take care of. And you'll notice that the older we get or the sooner we finish school or college, we start taking on this role of the provider, whether we're men or women. We start to provide for either our children or our families or our parents or the people around us. And because of our power to earn, we also have major decision making that we do. We shift the economy, we shift the political systems and structures. And so as a result, if we are egoistic in this stage of our life, it could have a very detrimental effect on everything else around us. Because every decision that we'll take will come from a place of me first and everybody else at the end. So it's kind of important to strike that balance, and I have to tell you that I've struggled with this as well. I'm somebody that's so used to putting herself first that I find it challenging to accommodate other people's needs as well. But this is a good reminder to us to not think that we are the ultimate importance. We're important, but so are other people, and that's why we kind of have to match our needs and theirs and strike this balance, which is hard but is possible. So that is number 2. Now coming to number 3, which is rag. Rag refers to a strong sense of attachment. And usually we get attached to all the things that we like or enjoy. And this is an issue because later on in life, when those things may not be there anymore, we have put so much of our effort and energy into those things that we experience a deep sense of pain at their loss or when they go away. And this applies to people, things, places, ideas as well. And so that's why we have to still enjoy what we're doing in the process, but there is a fine line between enjoyment and then also kind of taking a step back and knowing that this could be taken away at any time. So there's a video that we've made on Sutra 1.15 which talks about Vairagya. You can check that out for a little bit more information on detachment. But here Rag is talking about attachment as a pain point, and it definitely is one. And I can speak from experience as well. I grew up at a yoga institution, and so for very long my identity was attached to that place, and I wasn't able to see, okay, who am I without this place? And that creates a little bit of a dissonance because you don't know who you are without that. And so when I moved to London to study for my master's is when I first started to realize that, I'm away from home for so long and I have a personality and I have so many things about me that are different from just the fact that I grew up at a yoga institution. And so that element of not attaching yourself to just one place is important so that you can explore all the dimensions of who you are and also feel free to kind of enjoy different things and yet not get attached to either of them. Easier said than done, but that's the concept of Rag and why Rag can be a pain point. Now, coming to the next one, we here talk about Dvesh. And Dvesh is essentially referencing the aversion that we feel to certain situations that we don't like. So a strong liking or a strong disliking is discouraged in the sutra, where it says that extreme attachment and also extreme dislike is both bad. We kind of have to find this middle ground and be able to handle things as best we can. Now, we have to be clear though that Dvesh is not talking about something that is a crime or something that is wrong, like in terms of ethics. And then again, people have their own set of ethics, but it's not talking about something that's wrong by law. It's saying more something that you don't like. So for example, say if I don't like going to the mountains, then I will keep avoiding that and I will keep trying to get away from, say, going for a trek or going for any kind of a trip that includes the mountains because I just don't like it, That's not the case. I'm just giving you an example. But that is a form of Dvesh because we've created this kind of unhealthy aversion and we're not being flexible enough in some cases. Of course, if you've had a bad experience in the past or you have had a traumatic experience, then that is completely different and understandable. But in this case, it's talking about just having a bad aversion for something and then letting that create pain in your system because it doesn't allow you to be flexible enough with the things that are happening in your life. So that is number 4, which is Dvesh. And finally, we come to the 5th pain point, which is known as Abhinivesh. And Abhinivesha is essentially talking about the will force to live or the fear of death. Now, this is a huge thing because each one of us has a very strong will to live. And most of us fear a situation where we might fall, or if we feel like this is going to cause us harm, we are going to stay away from it. And that's why so often we have those dreams, of like you're going to fall off a cliff because you kind of jerk yourself and you experience that fear of death in that moment. And that's what brings you back to life. So why is this fear of death a problem? Well, Muni Patanjali says that the more we cling on to life and the more we fear death, we won't accept it. And then when the time of death actually comes, we'll constantly just be in fear of, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen next. So what he's trying to say is, he's obviously not saying that you should, welcome death. But what he's trying to say is that whenever death does come, because everything that is born will die at some point, whenever that happens in your life, to just be peaceful about it, and especially if it happens in old age or a later point, to sail through it in a way that is not causing you misery or is not making you feel fearful of what lies on the other side. So he's explaining that this fear of death actually prevents us from accepting the one major truth about life, which is that all of us at some point are going to die. And so the sooner we accept that and the sooner we make provisions for it, the better we will be and the better our families will be for it. And that's why I guess a will and so many other instruments are useful, because you can create that before you go so that it helps the people that are there after you. So that is Abhinivesha, the fear of death, which can definitely be detrimental on our spiritual path. And so just being accepting of it as, yes, there will be an end at some point, and when it comes, we'll see, or we'll handle it when it does. But we're not afraid of it. And I have to tell you, this is the hardest out of all. Even as I'm speaking, I realize how hard it is. But it's just something that we have to understand conceptually. And the more we experience and practice yoga, hopefully we'll be able to actually apply it to our lives as well. And it won't just remain a philosophy or a theory on paper. But that takes a little bit of time. So I guess it's just something that we just have to have as a work in progress. And so this is a little bit about the Pancha Kleshas, and this is what Muni Patanjali is telling us that we have to be careful of, because if we're not, we will get entangled into the problems of life, and there'll be a lot of overthinking, and we'll constantly struggle with our minds. But the sooner we identify these Pancha Kleshas, the sooner we can work to their solution. And as all things go, if you want a solution to something, you need to know the problem or the root cause to then find a solution to it. So this is that sutra that is telling us the root cause of the pain in our lives, and then in future sutras we learn how to solve it. So I hope this video has been useful to you and you found it helpful. If you did, please leave your comments in the comments box below, and we'd love to read what you have to say. Also, please give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with your friends and your family. We look forward to seeing you in the next video or in our next class or workshop. Until then, take care, and we're going to see you very soon. Namaste.